Hello.
Welcome to Family Matters with the one and only Kevin Peterson. We're sponsored by the one and only Jaywalker, but we're doing this on Tuesday just because schedules get hectic and all kinds of stuff. So
Stuff happens. Life happens.
To the best of our ability-ish. But Kevin, how are you?
I'm well, Jay.
I am well. 35 years.
I know, right? I mean, May 5th. May 5th. Cinco de Mayo. So, got sober in Southern California. That's how well things were going,
Anytime you have something like that, my first question or thought that pops in, and I'll just ask it, is why waste May 5th? Why didn't you just say one more day, Kevin, and do May 6th?
I asked myself
that. You must have been a real alcoholic.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but that's how bad things were. I came in whimpering. I came in. I mean, I tried to do. I was like, I'm going to party it up, and I was like, I'm going to die. I had tried that weekend to get sober. I had a therapist put the whammy on me a week or two before, and I was doing that sort of, I'm okay. Tomorrow. It's gonna be tomorrow, And then I followed the previous weekend. I was like, I'm gonna do it this weekend. I'm gonna do it. And I went to a friend's wedding, and you know what? I had a fucking beer, and I felt miserable. I just felt like, oh my God. I'm never going to this is never going to happen. My life is going to see shit for the rest of my life, And so May 5th, the next day was May 5th. And I was like, that's it. I quit. I can't, And I used to be like, I just walked right in and did it. I don't know why these people keep relapsing, And I had to admit that a year before that, I had a friend of mine that was like, hey, I want to work out with you. She was a trainer. This is 1990. And she's like, you need some help. You've been putting on weight. You're smoking, and I want to help you. I'm like, okay. And she's like, let's meet tomorrow morning. I'm like, okay. Bring a notebook. Okay. Sit down at a coffee place. And she's like, okay, write this down. Number one, you're going to write down everything you eat. If it goes in your mouth, it goes on the paper. I'm like, okay, cool. And she's like, number two, no alcohol for 30 days. And I was like, huh? And she's like, no alcohol for 30 days. And I'm like, why? She's like, I want you to see how much you're going to lose weight. I mean, it's so much, calories. I was like, oh, yeah, all right. And, I survived like 10 days smoking weed every day. Okay. And I went down to Southern California to see some friends and go to some concerts. And I was just like, that's over with. And the Radiators is who I went and saw from New Orleans. And they were awesome. So
the Radiators.
Yeah, man, you look them up. They're the best. And so then like a year later, when I really got sober 100% for real, I saw her, and she was like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm good. I got sober." She's like, "Yeah, I heard. I'm happy for you." She's like, "Hey, remember last year when we started working out together?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she said, "Remember when I said don't drink for 30 days?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "I did that because I wanted you to see that you couldn't do it." And I was like, oh. And she's like, "I'm a member of Al-Anon." And it was the only way I could bring it to her. And she's like, and you blew by it. You were just like, whatever. And she's like, you were not ready to hear anything I had to say. I'm like, right, got it. My bad. So how about that? Yeah. But, I'll tell you, like what you and I were talking about before we started the show, and I have another funny anecdote to tell you about. I moved back down to Los Angeles from Palo Alto and I walked into work Monday morning, 8 o'clock. in the president's office at the University of Southern California, and my friend Liz King, who was the
Junior
secretary of the
college?
president. Yeah, something like that. It's like it's a vocational school, typing and shit. Um, they have a lot of Heisman trophies and national championships, but yeah, at junior college, yeah.
Now that they
And,
joined the Big Ten, I will respect USC. So
okay. Anyway, so she had offered me a job to get me on my feet, and I walked in, and she's like, "Look." I walked into her office, and I was like, "Liz, I don't know if you know this, but I never really graduated from USC." And she started laughing, and she's like, "Oh, Kevin, I'm the secretary of the president." I looked your stuff up immediately. I know you did. You have a 1.1 GPA. I mean, it was all world, baby. And so she's like, "Look, I'm calling in a favor with every department. We're going to get you back on track. You got to get a job, because if you get a job, school's free. But and then once you get a job, then we got to get all the academic departments to give you one more chance. And the fact that you're sober and trying, so you stay sober, and I'll do everything in my power to help you." I was like, "Okay." And she goes, "First things first, right now, I want you to run over to the athletic department and see my friend Ron." I'm like, "Okay." I thought it was a job, And I walked in. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going to work in the athletic department." The cute girl at the front desk who I ended up dating for a while, and she's like, "Come on." And she walks me into his office, and he stands up, and he looks just like me. And he's like, "Hi, my name's Ron. I'm alcoholic. Can I take you to a meeting tonight?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he took me to the Brentwood Men's Stag at 8 p.m. on 12,000 San Vicente Boulevard in the church, upstairs in the back on the second floor. And I walked in, and there were 100 guys that were hooting and hollering and yelling and throwing shit and having a great time. And I was like, I can do this. I can do this. And that was my first introduction to my AA, and found a sponsor, and, just kept showing up and participating. And it's been the greatest thing that ever happened in my life. I mean, literally, it saved my life. There were a series of people that saved my life. My dad was one. Liz was one. There was a therapist that all were like, "Go here, go here, go here." Okay, I'll go. So that's the quickie version of.
that's pretty impressive. 35 years.
Yeah. So funny story. Yesterday in our clinical, or like our leadership meeting, our CEO Steph was talking about how a big thing for us. We can talk about this. A big thing for us at Jaywalker is that these guys are coming in on with cannabis psychosis. And it's really, some families are like, yeah, whatever. I smoked weed, no big deal. And other people are like, he's schizophrenic, and we've been medicating the hell out of him, and nothing's working. And so we spend a lot of time working our way through that. And so Steph is like, "Hey, this is going to be my mission now. I'm going to start talking about this. I'm going to go to conferences. I'm going to go really lecture on the concept of cannabis psychosis, et cetera, et cetera." And that this other woman in the leadership team, she's like, "Yeah, you know what you should title it? This isn't your granddaddy's weed." And I was like, "Hold on." I take offense to that. Because I was thinking, it's like your dad, it's not the stuff your dad was smoking. And I interrupted the meeting. I'm like, wait a minute. No, not. And they're like, "Oh no, Kevin, you could easily be a granddaddy." And I'm like, "That's not funny."
Well, sometimes you just get faced with reality by accident, So
yeah.
Sometimes you realize, they're right. It is powerful. It is not your grandpa's weed anymore. So,
well, it's a whole new world, and it does create psychosis, and it's destroying these guys. And a lot of these guys, their brains aren't even fully developed yet. They're in their early 20s, mid 20s, and their brains, first of all, they've started using this stuff 5-10 years ago. So they've already stopped the development, and now they're locked in like a 14 to 16-year-old range. So,
and they're getting all these diagnoses and all these, medication. And good Lord, all the while, the reality is it's probably the THC that they're ingesting and so forth. eating, ingesting, whatever. So, you know.
Yeah. 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 So, yeah, I don't know, bro. I don't know. You know, I also, my attitude was I'm going to give these clowns 6 weeks and see how it goes. 6 weeks, 6 months, see how it goes. And I'm still kind of at that space.
You still giving it 6 months?
Every 6 months, I'm like, okay.
I'll stay another 6 months.
Another 6 months. Another 6 months. And yeah, it's great. I love it. I go to two meetings. Saturday morning, I go to a meeting here in Jax Beach at the club at 8:30 in the morning called the Goodfellas, and it can be anywhere from a dozen to 2 dozen guys. It's very low key, very easygoing, very nice guys. They're really very connected, and we go to breakfast afterwards, and it's kind of that group. And I like those guys a lot. They're good. They're solid. They're characters. And then Sunday morning at 9:00, I go to one called the Spiritual Nights, and Nights with a K, and it's at a place called Java, and it's in town. It's one more, and it's a little rougher. It ain't the beach, And there's about 100 or so guys in that room, and they introduce their name and their sobriety date. And I'm telling you right now, 75 to 85% of that room has less than 2 years.
Really?
Yeah. And I mean, I would even say less than a year. So there's a lot of guys that are hanging on, and they're desperate. And that's what I need, man. I gotta roll with those guys. I need the guys that are like, what the hell? How do I get through this? And they're living in sober livings. They're living in, places that they're just trying to make it. They're just trying to stay sober, just trying to make it. And it's like, yeah, I get it. And I'm part of the group, man. They've given me a nickname and they got me a chip, and shit like that. So I loves it, Jay.
Well, in Tennessee, you don't say your sobriety date. You just introduce yourself. And I'm not a big fan of this because I need everybody in the room to know that I have 17 years. And so I found myself working that into, I have several years of sobriety, but, it's amazing how ego kind of creeps into it. So, who cares if you're not sharing your sobriety date, but.
Yeah, I've never done that before. That's something they do here a little bit. And it kind of like, oh, yeah, it's not a Colorado thing. Definitely not.
All I really know is Texas, and so that's where I got. I mean, but yeah. And it helped me. I mean, it's all how you view it and how you're raised, like any kid or something. But like I knew when I was new, I appreciated because I kind of knew who to kind of talk to and kind of hang out with, and lo and behold, those are the guys that 30 plus years, and I got 2 or 3 years, and I'm going to coffees and breakfast and dinners with, and I mean I needed that in my life. So I guess it all comes down to communicating, and one of the biggest things I've found that I'm not you go from Texas where everyone knew me in Dallas to a new place, and like I just want to be known, like I want the invites to all these, but you gotta talk, you gotta converse. You can't just magically just show up.
Yeah, man, you gotta stick your hand out. You gotta get in the middle of the boat.
Well, sometimes my boat is sinking. Sometimes I just have a canoe,
Well, so get in the middle of the canoe. Go saddle up to the other guys in the canoe and just say, hey, man, I need some help. That's I'll tell you, the hardest thing about staying sober is asking for help, and just no matter who you are, no matter what you are, you got to ask for help. And
well, 35 years, amazing. I'll catch up to you one of these days. I'm closing in fast. I'm closing in fast. So. All right. We do this to the best of our ability. We answer questions, calm fears, try to stump Kevin, maybe make you laugh here and there. But anyway, We got one that I want to get to, and it's kind of I don't know if people, I think they really just want to they just think this is a question, but some of these questions I honestly ponder for several days. And
it sounds exciting.
Well, I actually overanalyze sometimes. So sometimes it's just as simple. So talk to my sponsor about some of my overanalyzation. But so we have a wife. Husband is in the throes of addiction. And she ultimately here's paraphrasing. I'll do the best job. So she obviously is not in love with the person that he has become within this addiction. And it's making me wonder, questioning whether I ever loved him to begin with, because he's always been, recreational drug use and drinking. I find myself kind of fantasizing about him getting sober and who the guy that he would become.
Yeah.
Is that just a true fantasy? She's realizing, am I just chasing a fantasy version of my husband and he'll never get to that point?
Well, great question.
It makes you think.
Yeah, I mean, I really get it. I totally get it. I understand where she's coming from. The reality is that we can't answer that question. Is the person that you're in love with there? I mean, I think initially when you first met him, you probably fell in love with all the good parts of him. So I'd like to say, sure, there's some really great parts about him there. The problem is that the bad parts have taken over, and right now you can't see it. And I get that. Oh my God, I totally get that. I mean, I've heard that a few times, back in the day, and it's like, I really love you and you're really fun to be with, but I just never know who's going to show up, if they're going to show up, and I'm like, yeah, I know. And then, okay, here's the answer. You got to work on you. But I know you don't want to hear that. And I know you're like, that doesn't answer my question. Yeah, it does. You're still focused on how do I get him sober. That's not the question. The question is, how do I take care of myself in this process? How do I deal with this? And I would tell you, get a good therapist that understands addiction and trauma and codependency and start doing that work. And then I would highly recommend some 12-step work, CODA, Codependents Anonymous, Nar-Anon, Al-Anon, whatever works for you. And you can buy the books and just check them out yourself, whatever. I mean, but I think that's going to be your best bet because, one of the things I always say is you can't expect the alcoholic or addict to do something you're not going to do. Like any good leader of a corporation or a team or anything, you have to be the change, not wait for them to change and then get mad at them for not changing. You have to be the change, and you have to lead. You have to lead by example. And when you do that, it forces them to pay attention because you're changing the system. And when the system changes, they have to change or they won't be part of the system anymore. A long answer. It's such a long-winded answer, but that's really the truth, And that's what happened to me. It's what happened to you. My parents were like, we love you, but you're out. And until you get sober, just no. Negative. And I was like, oh, they're going to play this game again. They were locked it up, man.
What I think about is, and I never thought about this in my days of analyzing this question, is what if she put some work into herself and imagine the person that she would become if she got healthier and took care of herself more, healthy boundaries, so forth like that, and not necessarily talk about the person that he's going to become if he gets sober. Imagine the person she's going to become if she starts taking care of herself and drawing some healthy boundaries. So, you have a different way of looking at it. You make me think, Kevin Peterson.
Sorry, I hate to be that way.
Yeah, I
I
know.
know.
Give me a migraine or
Hmm.
something. Um, we have a bunch, and I'm sure we've always touched on it, but um, when we're talking, this one several months ago, but as I page through,
Well,
there's a lot of have I confused control with love for so long that I don't know the difference, and you know, I want to talk about control and then kind of love. And I understand this question because it's you can confuse this so much. I mean, so many families try to control so many things. In reality, we can't really control very much that's really in our control of all. Like I'm finally realizing there's very, very little that I truly even have control over.
yep.
And it's just
Oh
real
yeah.
simple how I show up, my behaviors, and so forth. But you know, I think you would think on paper you see control and then you see love, and there's this huge separation in theory. But when you're coming with families and addiction, within addiction, loving an addict, control and love are I mean right there. I mean I can understand what they're saying. Have I confused control with love for so long? I don't know the difference.
Yeah.
Like, can you touch on the whole just control when it comes to families and addiction
Sure.
and kind of love?
Well, sure. So control. I mean, here's kind of the best thing I've ever heard and sort of believe in is that help is the sunny side of control. And by that, I learned that in Southern California. By that, what I mean is that, if you were to ask the person that asked that question, they're like, well, I love them so much. I just want to help them. I got this last night from a family. I just love them so much. I want to help them. I'm like, yeah, here's the thing. It's help when he asks for it. Otherwise, it's you controlling him. And you may be coming from a loving space. You may be right in how to deal with whatever's going on. But he didn't ask for your help. And if you really love someone, you're going to allow them to learn stuff on their own. Loving someone is not protecting them from making mistakes. That's not love. Love is about saying, I'm here for you even when you make mistakes. And you're going to make mistakes, and it's okay. I made mistakes. Don't worry about it. But, I'm here when life knocks you down and you get back up and you're like, God damn, how did that happen? I'm going to be right here. Like, hey, I love you. Let's go, Tiger. Next, let's do it again. And maybe we learned something. Maybe there's something there, But if you want help, I'm happy to help. But you're going to have to ask for it.
Help is the sunny side of control.
Control. How about that, huh?
Well, and I mean, in general, the controlling and kind of the quote unquote helping often interferes and kind of takes away consequences, which ultimately is the greatest motivation for change. So that control, I see it happen, is trying to control consequences and, things that, bad credit and legal, record or jail or, reality is like there's three outcomes: jails, institutions, or death. And you're hoping for two: jails or institution, because death, from my understanding, you can't come back from. So,
well, one guy did, but that's evidently supposedly. Yeah, no.
Duly noted. Yeah, but no, I mean, it's the overwhelming theme when any family that I talk to is, what are you trying to control? And they're like, well, geez, where do I start? And half of it, they don't even realize they're trying to control.
Right. Well, they're trying to get to an outcome, and that's what they're doing. And the problem is, it's the outcome they want, and that does not I mean, I know it's hard to believe, but that's not love. That's you trying to push your agenda down somebody's throat. That's control and manipulation. And it doesn't matter if it's, oh, but I want all good things. It doesn't matter. It's still inappropriate. They have to learn how on themselves, and the best thing you can do is just be there and cheerlead them and be like, hey, either way, I love you. You're cool with me. And have good boundaries. I'm sorry, but I'm not willing to put up with that. I love you. I'll always love you, but I'm not going to put up with that kind of behavior.
It's tough.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah.
God bless families. And I think the shocking thing is this family recovery kind of blanket statement. But, in general, family recovery, I think, is just kind of people are finally realizing, and I hope more and more people, facilities, and within the treatment space invest more in family recovery, because from the more and more I do it, the more and more I realize that there's, you need to help the family before sometimes even trying to help the addict or alcoholic. So.
Oh, it's helping the family is the best way to help the addict alcoholic. Because if the family changes, the guy has to change if he wants to be part of the family.
Yeah.
And that's tough, right? Because you're kind of throwing it on you're spinning it. They're like, what do you mean? He's the one that's got this, he's got to change. I'm like, right. But the best way to make that happen is by you guys changing and saying, oh, we're not going to tolerate that anymore.
Yeah.
It's like if you're trying to eat healthy, or, if the person's in charge of the food, or says like, oh, okay, so we're going to start doing this. We're going to eat organic vegetables and this, that, and the other thing. And we're not doing any processed foods. And that's just how it's going to be in this house. And we're not going to put up with anything else. And, if you want to eat here, that's what you're going to eat.
I'll start eating healthier on Monday, Kevin. Lay off me, all right? Yeah.
I wasn't saying that.
I've been saying that for, I can't tell you how many years. Talk about procrastination. I can write a thesis on procrastination.
Tomorrow, yeah.
Sobriety. Sobriety, I think, is really the only thing I've ever followed through on. And shockingly, I really didn't even do that much. I just kept showing up at some places, and lo and behold. But anyway.
Yeah.
Kevin, always a pleasure.
My man.
We'll do this to the best of our ability next week sometime.
Yeah, whatever works.
Coming. If you are watching a live or replay or anything, keep the questions coming. We love answering. The more questions you send, the less Kevin and I actually talk. So,
yeah, less I got to fill time talking about me. Which, I'm happy to do. So,
my favorite topic, me. That's why I love it. Let's do a speaker meeting. Jay, do you want to speak? Absolutely. I know about this topic. This is my favorite topic.
Every week we should be doing this.